All right, what's up, everybody? This is another Friday night, and it is the Ask Christian Anarchist. Yeah, all right. So, anyways, we are here. Sorry for running late. I had to celebrate something, and that is that spending time with my bro because he had gotten his a wisdom tooth taken out, as well as a molar, and plus, tomorrow is going to be his birthday, so we celebrated it a bit early as well. So we had some chocolate cake, and that was nice, lovely. And of course, spending time with him is always good, especially since he's going to be going. He's leaving for his job. He's going to be working over in another state. So hopefully that goes well with him, and may he have a safe trip while he is there. But in the meantime, we're also going to be trying to get some people in here. I just quickly started this up. Didn't have time to really get some people in before I went and started this thing. Because besides, I'm sure there's probably some of you that are watching through the live stream and in the live chat. So maybe until then, we can get some questions from y'all. But yes. And we have Oswald saying, "Oh, okay. I was waiting for some while. Yeah, I apologize, Oswald Javier, because as a guy of my deal, I had to, I've always mentioned before, family will come first for me. If anything on YouTube happens, if I have a schedule on that, I'm going to change some things just so I can suit him better for according to my family situation. Family's important to me over this. My church and my personal faith life come over this, and so family also will come over the YouTube part. But anyways, so I'll be ranting a bit until we can get some people in. So if you want the link, you know how to get it. You just message me in the Google Hangouts, and I will gladly get you the link, as well as trying to add you. And I think if you also want to talk to me on Skype, Christian.Anarchist, that's the Skype name, then you can most likely be able to get the link from there. I don't hand it out in the public anymore because of some certain people who tend to behave a certain way. And I don't play that way, and I'm not going to allow that to happen in my Hangout. So if anyone also has a question, feel free to ask in the live chat while I am in the midst of ranting. So then we're going to see how many people we can get in here. So I guess that's the other thing I could just mention to people. Let's see, let's get ad blocker. At Brenda. I don't know. C. Brown is someone that I'm curious about trying to get into a conversation with specifically Mr. C. So I don't know. Maybe that could turn into some interesting conversation. Still, no one's showing up. Behave a certain way. That is the understatement of the year. Yeah, it sure is, Mr. Oswald. It sure is. I don't know if he's still watching, but it seems we had Penn kind of getting impatient, saying, "I got stuff to do. Let's get the show on the road." Well, I made a video about it earlier, and I'm debating on whether I should just keep that there because it's just its own little thing. So it is what it is. I see someone's already asked for the link, so I'll be on at least on Skype. Lord Jesse, if you're wanting the link, message me on Google Hangouts, and I will give it to you. So just go ahead and do that, and I'll make sure that you get the link. Okay. This is probably the most stressed out yet improvised version of the show that I've ever done before, because I'm starting with absolutely nobody in here, and I'm trying to way to get the whole contacting. I'm surprised there's still people watching this. If this gets up to 20 viewers, and by goodness, don't you people start trying to get all your friends to come watching this. If I get 20 viewers in here, I'm really going to start stressing out. Let's see here. Let me check the, okay, we got no one in here yet. Someone did ask for the link, but I've already sent it. Okay. I'm going to try sending one to Vehicle 2. No one in here yet. All right, let's check to see if the... Okay, I see the... Let's see. Okay, we got someone in here. We have Oswald. All right, check. Are you ready?
Oh, hello, Christian Anarchist.
Hello.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Very good as well. Nice day. Pretty cold. Snowing. I live in New England.
Yeah. You live in New England?
Yeah.
Sounds impressive. Well, someone said they sent me a message, but I'm going to check something real quick, because some people tend to send me messages via the YouTube messaging system, and those I usually don't answer because, well, I don't even know if those things were still existing. But no, they apparently haven't even sent me that either. So was it Laura Jesse? I did not get a message from you on Google Hangouts or on any other sort. So let me see. No, I don't even see it there. No. But let me check something here. Okay, there's that, actually. All right. Oh, there you go. I don't know why, for some odd reason, it just did that. It just kept you off on the deal. But yeah, here, let me get you the link. Because the reason why I don't give some people the link is because I'm skeptical about them. But anyways, sorry to keep you treating you as if you don't exist, Oswald. But welcome to the Ask Christian Anarchist. I noticed you have commented at times in the live stream before.
Oh, yeah. Pretty interesting to watch a Christian Anarchist.
So how did you hear about the whole thing?
Legitimately?
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
I legit just found you on YouTube.
Just
I'm a Christian. You're a Christian. You have a live stream, so why not?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of bad. I'm trying to actually think about redoing some of the background I'm doing with the whole thing. But and then we got Lord Jesse just came in here. How are you doing? You there, Jesse?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Just had an interesting conversation with somebody on the topics of, can a Christian have a demon inside them, and the issue of fasting. So it was a very interesting conversation with a guy who, to me, is already fishy enough, because he believes that Jesse Morrill and Reuben Israel and all these other sorts of people are born-again saved Christians, even though they preach all kinds of heresies that I've been able to find. So I don't know, what can you do with some people?
I am a former Jehovah's Witness, and I just spend all my time trying to make awareness on where they go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, good thing, man. Yeah. So we're gonna see if we can. I'm gonna try to keep adding as much people as I can to the whole shindig here. But if any of y'all have a question that you would like to ask, I'm sure y'all seen the show before and know how the deal goes. So we can go in order first. So, Oswald, did you have any particular questions that you've had in mind?
Oh yeah, I do. You were
All right.
saying, I think I overheard that. You were saying God is essentially who saves persons. Like, you're Calvinist, correct?
Yes.
God saves, man condemns himself. It's not God's, essentially that.
Well, God will judge and condemn the person, but it's based upon the merits of where their stance is. And if the person is a sinner who is in rebellion against God, who is not justified by faith, he does not believe, and he who does not believe is condemneth. So
It's due to their sin. They're thrown into hell.
Right.
But the real question is, was it God? Essentially, Calvinism. What you're saying doesn't really sound like Calvinism that much. It sounds more.
I've heard of that, and I've tried. And that was kind of
like Saint Augustine. Like Augustinians would say, God saves, He predestines, and then those who go to hell, it's their fault because man is automatically sinful. Therefore, whatever they do, they condemn themselves. It wasn't really God's fault to begin with. While John Calvin would say, God the Father sent them to hell because He purposely chose them not to elect.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a debate, of course, on like how and what exactly Calvin means by the words, because I've had some people say that Calvin said this, but yet they don't actually quote the whole dissertation about it. From what I understood, whenever I had a Reformed theology explained to me, first of all, I don't really care about what Calvin said. I became a Calvinist not because of what Calvin wrote or what a confession states, but it was because of what I read in the Bible and what someone tried to help me with understanding in the Bible. So with that in mind, when I look at the scriptures, I see the idea that, we're still held accountable, but ultimately, election and salvation, regeneration, these things are the results of God. Man does not have a final say-so in the matter. What he does is he chooses what the nature inclines to choose. And so if he is still stuck in the sinful nature, he's going to do those things that are that of sinful nature. But if he is born again, which again points out the miraculous power and miracles of God, is if he has that born again regeneration, if man is born again and is, as the Bible says, a new creature in Christ, then we see this new behavior, not necessarily meaning that he's going to do perfect works, but his whole mindset towards certain things is different. And I see this with certain people, like this one friend I know named Hunter. He is an Assemblies of God person, but before then he was an atheist, and he was like, skeptical of all these different things, and his research and work to like debunk these things about Christianity actually helped lead him to God, because he started seeing the whole logical necessities of God, the proof behind him, and then ultimately the truth of Christianity. So he came to an interesting conclusion as a result. And I think that's, as he and I agree, it's a gift of God and a miracle of God that people like that are able to, come to this awakening sense, and they have this whole 180 in their lifestyle. So that's ultimately how I viewed Calvinism, and specifically the doctrines involving the change of the person being born again. So the person, it's mainly the debate about the nature of the person.
Yeah, usually Arminians, they like to deny that man is too depraved to choose his own salvation, or think the nature of man.
Right. So what denomination or system do you hold to?
Oh, I'm Anglican.
You're Anglican?
Yeah.
I heard they were called the Reformed Catholics.
That's semi-true, but I mean, we just use different terminology to make it sound better. Trust me, with different terminology, a lot of things sound way better.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from.
No, but I'm not like personally. Like, I know what Calvinism is. I've read a little bit of the Institute, but not fully. I mean, I would take the position as St. Augustine would take, since St. Augustine and Calvin differed only on like God. It's God's will. Whoever goes to hell goes to hell. Augustine would say it's man's essential faults for it. So I mean, Calvin and Augustine differed right there on hell, but regarding salvation, they both agreed that man's too depraved to choose his own salvation and intervene.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and I don't know. There may be some people that I'll meet that we're gonna have differences on certain points within the matter. But I mean, there are Calvinists I disagree with out there. Sometimes they behave rather odd. Sometimes they behave like jerks. Sometimes they teach a strange form of theology. I mean, like, for example, there's some Reformed people I've heard, and some people I personally know, who are becoming Reformed King James onlyist advocates. And that's actually kind of a scary thought when you think about it, because in my opinion, that's, I don't want to be the one that says, this Bible only, because when we're looking at the manuscripts and then when we're looking at, the variety of how the ESV and the NIV have legitimately saved people with orthodox doctrine, then why should we condemn these things if they are the result of the work of God at that point? So I don't try to limit it to simply one translation to the work of God. So that's just my take on it.
That's personally kind of like, I don't know, a stretch. And as well, I'll take credit. The Church of England technically gave the world the King James, well, William Tyndale. But I mean, that is quite strange. I have multiple Bible translations. I have a translation of the Vulgate into English. It's just like Protestant Bibles, Catholic Bibles. I have Catholic Bibles for the Apocrypha. And essentially like that. I mean, they usually there's not that much strain. I think it's kind of pushing it when you say only one version's correct.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and that's why I don't try to get involved with those kinds of, I slowly try to stay clear from the King James only position or that debate, because some of the people are just irrational. I mean, I'll do it if someone mentions it or wants to, because it's been a while since I've been on my resources on that particular topic. But the debate that I had on it once, and you could check on my playlist. It's under there. There was a guy named Adam Garza, and he pretty much originally just wanted to do this King James versus this translation. But I told him I don't hold to that. I don't do that kind of thing. I'm against the idea of King James onlyism. So is the King James Bible is the only one, but he wanted to do King James versus this. And originally that was going to be a debate I was going to do with one other guy. But he said because I wouldn't choose a Bible translation to wage against it in a solo uno on uno tactic, he said that I'm using a tactic of Satan, and therefore he's blocking me. And he said we wanted to do the debate, but as a result of us having this dialogue to get our sources and such together, I had this one question. He then says, "Well, you're blocked," and I take my word back on that debate. We're not having it.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of steer clear of the King James only thing. But if someone wants to have a debate on that issue, whenever I'm free from my debate fast, then I will feel free to do so.
All right.
But yeah, that's it. And we had Chris Bowman who just entered in the room. What's up, Chris?
What's going on?
Not much, man. We just talking about aliens and all that stuff. You know, the good stuff.
Oh man, come on, man.
Yes, for some of those who missed it, I don't know how, but somehow last Ask Christian Anarchist got sponsored by aliens. So uh, I have no idea how that happened. It didn't even mean for it to happen, and then got all the crazy conspiracy people coming in and wanted to talk about it. So,
Christian Anarchist, are you a CIA operative?
no, I'm a paid shill. Make sure you get it right. Anyways, so was that all you wanted to ask, Ozzy?
I'm pretty good.
All right. Well, thank you for your question, mate. All right. Speaking of another mate, let's go to Lord Jesse, who apparently called me mate earlier. So I don't know if he's Australian or if that's just a saying he likes to say to people. What's up, man?
No, I'm just an American.
American. Northern or Southern?
Western.
Well, you're missing out. We got some good old barbecue down here in the South. Yeehaw! All right. Now, do you have a question in mind, man? Oh, wait, hold on. Before you do, I'm really sorry about that. But apparently Thaddeus, how long do you have to go, Thaddeus?
I'm gonna leave in like a few minutes, so it's okay if I just ask my question?
Yeah, as long as it's very quick then.
Okay,
Sure.
it's very quick. I was gonna ask what exactly, because I don't know the whole scenario. What was the whole thing about you versus Pin Valentine on that video that you posted?
I don't know.
I watched the video, and I watched the video myself, and basically, from my opinion, it didn't really look like Matt Slick was really poning anybody. But
well, the thing is about the poning is that, especially if you're familiar with Matt Slick in that he is a Reformed theology holder, and that's why the thing is Matt Slick pones cocky anti-Calvinist. So it's a whole Christian on Christian thing, and it's mainly about the whole monergism versus synergism debate thing. And this is why I told Penn to watch the debate if he wants the context, because he claimed I took the video out of context.
yeah, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I don't really get how that answer that Matt Slick gave was a ponage, because all it really seemed like it was a cop-out.
Because that's the most common that's actually the most common question that the synergist or the anti-Calvinist, for that matter, will use, is they saying, if everyone is elected by God to salvation, then you basically are saying that, the ending of Matthew where it says go and preach the gospel is nullified. So they think that because God has caused election in salvation, then that automatically means we should not go out and preach to everybody if God has elected people to salvation. And this is normally like the weird kind of thing. But the problem is, and this is where the poning comes in, that backfires on them, because I don't think they realize the implication of their question when they say, then why should I bother go out and preach? Well, simple, and that is because God told you to. The thing is that they'll say, when you ask them, why should I try to do this sacrament or something like that? It's like, because God told you to, because the Bible says so. Well, when they ask us something like that, the same answer can then be replied to them, and that's the irony or the ponage that comes as a result of it, is that
So they say something similar.
Right, and they won't, and that's the thing that is with anti-Calvinists, is that they don't hold a double standard. They will find all kinds of interesting things to say to just try to make it seem like all that. I mean, like, for example, there are actually some Calvinists who don't believe in evangelizing to other people, like the Westboro Baptist Church, for example. They're hyper Calvinists and literally believe that because there is an election, they shouldn't go out and preach, but that violates Scripture, because God command.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a weak answer, when it comes to
I wasn't
saying
trying to. I
saying it
wasn't
to an atheist or a misotheist or whatever. It doesn't make too much sense.
right,
I guess
and
to an
and that's what I
Christian
told.
it
And
does.
that's what I told Penn is it doesn't make sense to them, and I wasn't trying to make it make sense to them. This was more of a
Yeah, 'cause
joke
someone like to
for
me, it's like that's a pretty weak answer.
yeah. This
But
was
okay.
because this was more of a joke gag that I just tried to do. That was more for those in the Calvinist discussion
Okay.
community.
This is everything. Thanks for that. I'm gonna go now.
All right, no problem, man. Thanks for that. Yeah, because I don't know how that comment thing got heated up in the live chat, not the live chat, but in just the comments in general on that particular video. So I don't know. Hopefully, something about that gets solved. Anyways, so we'll go into Lord Jesse. So sorry about taking that away from you, but you have the floor to ask however long a question you want.
No, it's a simple question.
All right.
Have you ever exposed the Jehovah's Witnesses?
I have gone over it, and I've actually have talked to one of them, though he did focus and seemed to just imply more of just a simple Arianism kind of aspect. So I talked with a Jehovah's Witness as well as an Arian, and that's pretty much it. They're like these two tag team type of people, and they are rather interesting. The other one is the Jehovah's Witness is pretty, cocky and full of himself, very smug type of individual. So as a result, I stopped talking to him because I've realized it's futile. He's already made up his mind. Maybe somebody else will come and try to convince him of the evidence. But when I go to when I go to the lexicons and the manuscripts, as well as the early church fathers, he will try to find any way of taking the turn back and such. And when I go to scholarly articles, he then just goes to a different degree. And in fact, he literally believes that sola scriptura means scripture only, no catechism, no creed, no confession, no early church fathers. But yeah, at the same time, of course, he'll say he holds sola scriptura, but will quote church fathers as well to affirm that early Christianity did not affirm Trinity. And of course, the idea that the Council of Nicaea invented the Trinity is another interesting lie that these people will produce. But yeah, I have tried talking to Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't impress me one bit, and I'm actually planning on, if I do ever meet one, try to witness to one of the witnesses themselves. Turn the tables on them, kind of thing. But yeah, I have encountered Jehovah's Witnesses before and have tried to witness to them.
It would be nice if you made a video against them. I could give you a few pointers if you want.
Well, we have tried. We're currently in the working of a Mormon one. The ending for this particular video results in that we see a Jehovah's Witness knock on the door, and then we just shut the door on him afterwards. So, I mean, that's had a brief moment. But, I mean, I don't know. I think actually I might get Logical Christian to work on a blog for the website because he's dealt with the Jehovah's Witnesses more than I have. So I felt that he would have more of a resource on that. Yeah, that's so far was about what has happened regarding that. And I don't know what the heck is going on, but for some reason, like on my deal, I can't add more than 20 people in the Hangout. So I don't know if that's resulted just who the people I was trying to add on were, or whatever they were. But who knows? Maybe we'll get some more people on here. Anyways. But we got Cameron. So, but was that all you wanted to ask, Lord Jesse, or did you have any more questions?
No, that's all. It's the more the better to go against them, like a swarm of bees.
Right, and I agree. And there's actually some interesting track thing that I think might help out, because they've actually written one. Hold on a second. I got to check on something. I'll talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, just check out the Australia Royal Commission, people. They found in the country of Australia 1,000 unreported cases of child molestation among the Jehovah's Witnesses in that country. Go to jwfacts.com for all the scoop. And that man that wrote that website is also an Australian.
They're an organization with money. Trust me, they can cover up a lot of scandals.
They're paying millions of dollars to hush people up, victims of sex crimes, by their clergy, the elders who have raped many, many members.
That's so messed up, abusing people and trying to get away with it through religion.
They think that stuff can't happen in their religion because they think it's God made their religion. That man has nothing to do with it. It's all done by Holy Spirit.
I've talked to Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's a weird thing. They pretend like the church has been around for 2,000 years when, like, 1930s is when officially they started. I think 39, actually.
Yeah, you're talking about Rutherford, the judge. He took over. He was a lawyer, and he took it over from when the founder, Charles Taze Russell, died. He took it over like a mafia guy, and then he added all his man-made rules, and that's where they are right now. And he was, you guys ever heard of the Great Gatsby? He had a mansion in San Diego, California. He had all sorts of Cadillacs, and he was all into the booze and the partying and the women. So there you go.
A godly founder right there.
Well, the founder, Charles Taze Russell, was a Freemason, and he's buried on a Freemason cemetery, and he has the pyramid with the all-seeing eye on top. The one on the dollar bill. So all these facts, they don't know it. And Charles Taze Russell figured out in 1914 from measuring the pyramids in Egypt. So it's not like he got it from the Bible. He got it from some pyramids. He was into pyramidology.
He also made some failed predictions too, more than once, didn't he?
Yeah, he was looking forward to the rapture in 1914. He said all religion was going to be destroyed, all the governments, all false religion, and that they were going to go home with the Christ.
And then as soon as the prediction failed, they come up with some excuse to why it failed. I think Christ came back. No, that was like World War II. I'm not very sure about it.
Well, at that time, they were teaching that Christ came back in 1874. But then, 1914, the end of the world never happened, so they just changed their history. They whitewashed it. They rewrote their history books to change what really happened.
That's a level of, I don't understand. You have to have literally no dignity, neither honor to actually do that.
Well, a lot of people respect them because, in my opinion, they do teach truth, but that's how they hook the people. Here, I just taught you this truth, so now you have to believe everything else we say.
That's a weird mentality to have. I'm very sure everybody can say 1 + 1 = 2, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily make everybody true, or whatever statement the same person says true. I mean, it's kind of like a weird allegiance. I'm questioning.
All right, I just got back. Sorry about that. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Loud and clear.
All right, just making sure. Okay. Where was I? Oh, yes. I was going to try to say for Lord Jesse, there's a website called the Fellowship Track League, which is where I get my tracks from. And let's see right here. There's one there it is. 3 truths that every Jehovah's Witness should know. Let me see if they actually will contain it. Yeah, it's got a nice thing where it shows the different truths that these Jehovah's Witnesses should know, which is first, the Bible clearly teaches that there's a place of eternal punishment. Then it gives the scriptural proof text for it. Trying to see what the second truth is. The truth of the existence of eternal punishment brings us to the second, that God has provided a substitute to take your punishment that you as a sinner deserve, and that God's word is when Jesus Christ rose from the dead in bodily form, he proves his deity. So those are the 3 truths, and that's a good track that you can order absolutely for free, as many copies as you want, and you can hand those out to the Jehovah's Witnesses that you meet, and as well as get some others. So I don't know. Yeah, that might be able to help you out, Jesse. But I'm just mentioning some free resources because I usually like doing that. Let's see. We're gonna get our. We got an Ahmadiyya Muslim. Hopefully he wants to join. And then we got, but I assume that was your. So we're going to move on to Chris, who is the next in line. Chris, what's up, my main man?
What's going on?
Not much. How was work?
Just really getting back home. Statement then question. Oh yeah, all things were good. It's a good fruitful week. In regards to that the discussion a little bit earlier about why do we evangelize the gospel, and someone would respond, well, the Bible says that we're supposed to go and preach this gospel to every living creature.
Amen.
I think something that would be awesome to say to say to someone who's non-Calvinist or non-Reformed when it comes to in regard to that, more pertinent is why not ask that person who holds to a non-Calvinist position, how did they come to faith?
Good question.
I mean, how did they come to faith? If they came to faith outside of preaching the gospel or the gospel being proclaimed to them, it'd be kind of hard for them to make the statement, why do we even preach the gospel if God has chosen in Christ in whom he would bring to himself? So I mean, all believers are brought to Christ efficaciously by the preaching of the gospel. So, okay. And my question is tonight is very good, because when I first came in, I heard the statement about the King James onlyism position. Tonight
I got my King James.
Yeah. I preached the last 2 nights about the atonement, but tonight we had a speaker come in, and when I'm not preaching, I got to introduce the speaker. So when I entered into the chapel, one of our men, young Christian men of the faith, new believer, was on the stage talking to the speaker before the message, and the speaker was making a statement statement to him, because the young man asked him about learning the Bible and which version to learn it in, and the guy was saying to him that he should only deal with the King James Bible because other translations remove certain scriptures out. So I asked the speaker, well, if I preach from the NIV, will it bring someone to Christ? And he said, yes. So what's your point? So then he went into some dialogue, and now I want to ask you to help me, that when I get back to work on Monday, when I see this young man, how can I better communicate to him, other than what the gentleman said to him about, well, these other translations have scripture not in it. And I got James White's book. I haven't opened it yet because I'm involved in other books right now. I'm gonna get to it, but I want to hear from you. Something that can help me, so then I can turn and edify and encourage another young man who's only a babe in Christ, and I don't want him to feel in an inferior way that the King James Bible is the only authoritative Bible and that all Christians ought to sink their teeth in it as though it's the only Bible, only reliable translation or transmission or transliteration, whatever that we should adopt to. I understand. I read the King James, but I also I also deal with other versions. So can you please help me to be helpful to another believer?
Right. So here's what I would say, first of all, to those people who would suggest that, the others are translations that have errors because they take out certain verses. They have to go to the manuscript ideas that they have to provide from manuscripts that these verses were in the early translations in the early Greek, and that they were considered authoritative. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as most people will say, that they take the verses out to change doctrine. So the person you talked to said that they could use another translation to just witness to people and save people. So test, for example, like if you have an NIV or a New King James or an NASB, get that, and then you test it with the King James. In other words, you compare them and show that those two can essentially teach the same doctrine. And as for the person that is that you're talking to, that is trying to figure out which translation to read, he can read. Ask him, show the comparisons of different translations of a certain verse, which a lot of people will say it's sometimes too complicated to read if you have the King James, and ask and compare the translation of which one seems to allow them to understand it and that speaks their language better. Because you have, of course, the more modern English, but then there's also ways that it could be helped to be understood. The Amplified Bible takes theological terms and helps explain it. Then you have ESV, which is pretty much a good King James for today's time and language. It helps us to understand the Bible in our own terms, and it's pretty much the new layman's type of Bible. NASB is more accurate in its wording, but still sometimes the more mature theological content is still there. So it depends on the translation. It depends on the reader who is using the translation at the same time. So I would take them as a guide through one verse, through many translations, see which one makes it, is it clear for them, and then you let them decide. So, but normally what I hand out today is ESV or NIV. Not really too much of the NIV fan, but I am a big fan of the ESV, which I think really is a good translation to hand out to people.
So why does a person like this gentleman tonight, why are there many men who, and this has been, I understand this has been going on for a while, why do then so many people hold to this King James onlyism mentality?
Why do so many people still hold to it? In my honest opinion, as someone who comes from the South, it's usually tradition. I mean, the King James has been around for so many years, and then all of a sudden these new translations start coming up, and people start getting uncomfortable. I mean, it's bound to happen. People are more familiar with the King James English, and they feel that it's good. And then of course you have new Bible translations where some of the footnotes are saying the woman caught in adultery. That wasn't in the original manuscripts or the early manuscripts. And the longer ending to Mark, there's doubt if that is canon. 1 John 5:7, where is it in my Bible? Acts, this one verse in Acts, where is it? People then start having these things that, these verses that they were so used to, they're upset about it, but they don't know the actual theological reasoning as to why these aren't in there anymore. But once they do the research, I think they actually can come to a better logical conclusion. So that's what I think it is. It's mostly due to tradition is the reason why they try doing that.
Gotcha.
So yes, be considerate around some of those, because some of these people are mostly just driven by sort of tradition that their lifestyle holds to. And I don't know what is going on, but apparently our friend, um, his name is Damon Stengel. He wanted to try to join the hangout, but for some odd reason, it's not allowing him to. I don't know. I'm trying to give him the link again, and for some reason, I can't even add him. So I don't know. I guess Google Hangout is just being a little derp today or something. I don't know, but hopefully we can try to resolve the issue. Let me. I'll at least give him the watch link so he can try to watch and see what's going on there. And then we have Penn, of course. If King James Onlyist can be attributed to tradition, why can't the same be said for any branch of Christianity? Everyone has their own traditions, of course, but mainly that's where the King James Onlyists are going from, and not from any form of trying to go to evidence standpoint. Mainly, it's that why do you believe the King James is true? Well, it's just because we've been going through it for a while. We just, as Americans, use this translation. Well, the thing is, that hasn't been the translation for all usage. Y'all have had the Geneva Bible. You've had the Common Bible. I forgot what you had the Great Bible. Then you had the Bishop's Bible, and before that, you had the what was it? The William Tyndale was part of it. The William Tyndale, and then which was the Coverdale Bible later on. These different Bible translations that were way before King James, and they were used by the early church.
The Vulgate.
And then, of course, you had the Vulgate of course, the priests and such, but then, we were tired of just having the priests interpret the Bible for us, so then the daring bravado of having someone translate it into English for common people to read then started up for there. Yes, thank you with that one. Chris and Sergio managed to get in, but I don't know how. I don't know how Damon's not getting in here. Let me try one more time with him. Apparently cannot be added. I don't know. We'll try another time to whenever we do this, we'll see if this is still behaving this way. But I don't know. It's just some people that won't allow me to add in here, and I don't get it. But you could still ask in the live chat if you're watching, Damon. All right. So is that all you wanted to ask, Chris?
Yep. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. And then, of course, we have Adblocker, who is using Manga Messiah Jesus for the picture today.
That's right.
Surprised you didn't put Randy Savage glasses on him.
It could be arranged. He's sort of surrounded by.
Yeah, he's already surrounded by the by the girls.
Right.
And that one guy. Well, I don't even know. I mean, it's anime. It could be either at that point.
Yeah, that's Jesus Christ played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That'd be great if they made a movie like that, wouldn't it?
I don't understand how that can happen. I mean, they had to put the wig on him. I mean,
well, he looked all right in the Hercules wig.
Oh, good point.
Did you see that movie? I watched it last night. I thought it was great.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna try to see another movie though tomorrow, which is House of a Thousand Corpses. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was great in a really in a bad movie sort of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So I think last time on Ask Christian Anarchist, I asked you if you thought the world was or the universe was perfect, or if it was made specifically for humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think the answer you gave to me was that it was not perfect because of what happened with between Adam and Eve.
Right. I mean, like in the world we are at today, it's not perfect. Originally, I think that it was, but then when the original sin happened, then things started taking a fall for the worse.
Right. So could you explain to me, perhaps, I mean, what happened with between Adam and Eve in order to they would make it fair to condemn, the human race to something that's less than perfect.
So, like, what happened that would make it condemn?
Yeah, what did they do to condemn the human race to live in some place that's less than perfect?
Well, some people think it's simply just because that Adam and Eve ate from the forbidden for the forbidden fruit that grants them knowledge of good and evil. So pretty much, they have this whole wisdom, this whole knowledge thing. So some people and skeptics have tried using this to say God hates knowledge. He just wants you to be a blind sheep for him. But I think the major implication is on, like, for any parent regarding something he's told his kid. And that is that if you tell them not to do something and they do it, well, then they're going to be punished for the things that they do. Rather it be you put them in timeout, or if they're at a certain age, you end up, giving them 5 smacks on the booty for spanking. The same thing as if you got the older kid, if they disobey, then take the video games away for a week or something like that. Mm-hmm. So a sort of a punishment was given because God told Adam this one thing. He told Adam and Eve this one thing: do not eat of this fruit. And so really what it boiled down to was simply that they were punished for disobeying God, and that was ultimately it. Mm-hmm. So because they had disobeyed God, then they were given the punishment, and plus part of it was also from they have the knowledge of good and evil. They know all this terrible stuff that not only that can be done, but that they are also capable of doing. Mm-hmm. And it can sort of entice them once they have that knowledge. Like if you discover a certain food exists and it tastes good and you want it, then you're going to certainly want to crave it and want to continue, and you're trying to find moments where you can eat that food. So the same thing can happen with the sin idea and the sin concept.
Right.
So you start with.
If I can jump in here. I was watching. I've been getting back into like movies and stuff like that, and something popped up on my YouTube recommended list with Hannibal. You remember that?
Oh,
the TV show with Eddie Izzard and.
I hadn't seen the TV show, but I've seen the movie.
Yeah, I saw that Eddie Izzard was in it, and I love him. He's hilarious. Do you know who he is? He's the trans, not trans. What do they call people that are guys that dress in women's clothing? Why am I asking about
cross-dresser?
Yeah, there you go. Well, close enough. Well, he's a cross-dresser and a comedian, and he's just absolutely hilarious. And I saw that he was in it, and he's playing a cripple, and Hannibal like cut off one of his legs and fed it to him. In another video that I watched, what was it? They said that cannibalism is addictive because if you're a cannibal, or if you're like a serial killer and you're wanting to feed on human flesh, and then you finally get it, then you're going to be addicted to it from that point on. Yeah, just something that popped into my head. But do you feel that the punishment for what Adam and Eve did, do you think that's a just punishment for humanity?
Yes, and it's based upon, of course, according to which law that they hold to. For example, in certain countries, they handle certain laws differently there, and they have a different standard to hold to concerning that matter. Regarding to what God and His punishments are, is according to a basis of the standard of His law, as well as the punishments as a result of them. And the result of the punishment that has been there is, what ultimately happens towards the end. So what did happen, yes, was a just punishment for them because they committed the crime that was fit for it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten it. So that's the whole thing, and I think that's what even Christians seem to lack, is that there's a reason why certain names and titles are given in the Bible for a comparison, especially in regards to God. When he's called the Father, there's a reason why he is called the Father. It's to help us as humans try to understand a bit more about the mysteries of God, and one of which involves on a relationship basis, and that is that we are children to him. So then the next thing is, well, he's also called Lord. This is a comparison to the fact of kings, that he is the main king of all kings. And we get these other analogies such as decrees and all these kinds of things. And then, of course, you have the idea of him in the sense of Lord, as well as other passages that he judges, that he is a judge. So what does a judge do? Well, they have established a law and all that, and when someone violates it, then they are to be held accountable, which is when our time is up. That's what's happened. They're going to be held accountable for their sins and for where they stand with God on Judgment Day.
Well, with a judge here, like in America at least, like we punish the person for the crime that they commit, and not an entire race.
Right, and that's why, like I said earlier, that even the different countries have different standards of how their law and their whole system works with the judge there too. And so likewise, how we have that in that sense, just on the human level, then God himself also most definitely has a different standard in regards. And if we follow the standard that goes concerning the spiritual level there, then according to his standard, he's going with the standard that is fit for the world and is from the heavenly divine origin sense. That is where the law and the standard comes from.
So a couple of jabronis way back in the day, they ate from the fruit of knowledge, disobeyed God, and the rest of us are punished for something that we've never done, right? Like we didn't do it. There was Adam and Eve back in the day, right? You think that's okay?
Repeat that again.
Do you think it's okay for us to be punished for something for Adam and Eve, something Adam and Eve did a long time ago, supposedly?
Well, the thing is that I don't think that it's necessarily us being punished for the crime of Adam and Eve, but rather that we inherit this sinful nature, because it's kind of a bit of like, in a genetic sense as well. I don't think there's a sin gene, but we inherit this sinful nature that we had Adam and Eve, they sort of developed this.
And then so you're saying that, I'm sorry to cut you off, man. Like, but you're saying that them eating from the fruit of knowledge gave us a sinful nature, and that's what makes the world of the universe less perfect.
Well, and this is why I tried using the whole thing with the delicious food analogies that I mentioned, is that when someone discovers something which they had not known of anything about the wickedness, but when they have that knowledge of evil, then they know about sin. And once they know about sin, then they're going to know about some of the pleasures and the temptations that it has to offer. And as a result, that knowledge is ultimately then going to be passed down to their children. So they're going to have this knowledge and this ability to have this comprehension of things. And they're going to be tempted to do certain things, which, Cain tempted to kill his brother because, well, that he was displeased and he wanted him gone. So he tried, out of jealousy and anger, he ended up killing his brother, thought it would help out, but it turned out made his life worse after that. And then more and more until we get to Genesis 6, people are, truly emphatic about their sinful lives, and they're going about doing what they want in that regard. And it's because they have a desire to want to do certain actions, to do certain things.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but the original question last week, or the last time, was do you think that the world of the universe is perfect and perfectly made for our particular species of humans?
Well, in a sense, I'd say, you know, it's made for us to live on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. So how do you explain? Well, most of the world is water, right? Like the
Right.
oceans and stuff, and there's a lot of different places where you can't live, like the Antarctic, volcanic sort of areas, deserts, and so on. It doesn't really seem to be someplace that was made specifically for us. How do you come to grips with that?
Well, the reason, yes, this is, I understand the question here about, because I mean, I've had Neil deGrasse Tyson has mentioned this once, and this is why, of course, I don't really try to say I'm too much of an intelligent design advocate. When I say that it's perfect in the sense that we are able to live on it, that's all I'm saying, is that we are able to be on this planet and survive off it. There's planets that are not able to support human life. This planet has been able to give us one of those opportunities. Yet, at the same time, we have all these crappy things happening. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, famines, all these things, as well as other things as creatures, like especially if you go to Australia, which, according to one of my friends, that's the country that tries to kill you with everything they have there.
Oh, yeah. You would never catch me in Australia, man. It's just like you walk through there, like a lot of it's like 85% uninhabitable because it's like a big vast desert, and there's scorpions and there's snakes and koala bears that jump down from trees, and it's surrounded by a ocean that, I mean, like this, you know, it's just surrounded by an ocean filled with sharks and stingrays that want to eat you. It's crazy. Anyway, as you were saying.
So also, I have just learned that I need the term we used, cross-dresser, was an offensive term, and apparently.
Well, we didn't say drag queen. I wanted to say transvestite.
Yeah, and even then, that's
we said cross-dresser.
Yeah, and the person said that a transvestite is actually a medical term, but yeah, like drag queens are people who are doing the stuff for performing purposes, and that would most likely fit.
Yeah, I guess he considers himself a executive transvestite, which means he dresses as like kind of like business attire,
right,
for women. He's a funny guy though. You should everybody should check him out. He's hilarious. Anyway, meh. Well, if comedy's not your thing, you know, whatever.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I just think I've seen him before in other things. That's all I was saying.
Covered in bees.
But yeah, I mean, is there any more part of the question you wanted to go over, or was that
I'm not so sure. I think Cameron wanted to add something. I'm not sure I got a complete answer.
What you wanted to add, you Molinist?
Oh yeah. I'm looking more and more like a Molinist, even though I'm not. I joined Matt Slick's hangout, unfortunately, yesterday. I say unfortunately,
that was fun,
because he's not someone who actually understands it. I'm not committed to Molinism, but it'd be cool if he actually, you know, I don't even think he's trying to understand it, which is a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I would say is that naturally Christians have said, you know, at least biblically, that, you know, creation was a sort of a, you know, it was a sort of imminent activity for God's glory to proceed into creation. And given that, and given that even you know, the imperfect things of creation, at least if you accept a sort of Thomist ontology, would still, you know, exhibit, you know, some perfections or some goods. We could say that even, you know, creation exhibiting some imperfections, it wouldn't be a knock against, God's creative purpose and God's will. But what I would say about original sin is that it's an accidental property of man after the fall. So naturally, given man's inclination to sin, perhaps new natural laws, and I use natural laws to refer to the natures of things, would be needed. So that would explain why these sort of thickles and thorns sprout up, when Eve's and Adam sinned. But secondly, what we could say is that ultimately creation as a whole is something that is about. It's something that isn't solely for man, since it's for the glory of God. Perhaps God, in his creative plan, decides to make deserts and oceans that are filled with non-drinkable water. Perhaps he did so he could exhibit his creation on things like fishes and cactuses. I don't think that naturally creation has to be solely made for man. Naturally, man is an intellectual agent, has as his natural end God. But I don't think that it follows that God has to create for man. I think the biblical view is that God created for his own glory, and I don't think it's incompatible with his glory to create things that aren't necessarily man inhabitable. I think he certainly did create enough where man could still be a moral agent and fulfill his natural ends as a rational agent. Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question at all.
It's more probing into what you guys believe, right? Like from the Bible and whatnot. So you can answer it for yourself, and I think Christian Anarchist answered it in his way, and I appreciate you guys answering my question.
Can I add
Sure.
Well, God is intrinsic. He's intrinsically perfect. His standards are perfect because intrinsically, by nature, God is perfect in every attribute and character. So everything has to be looked at depending on your worldview. If you're a Christian, you're gonna always start with God. God by nature is perfect in every attribute. So whatever God does, intrinsically flowing from him, is going to be perfect. And that's why his judgments, his standards, his law, and every commandment is perfect. And every human being that is a creation of him must fulfill perfectly according to his character, his nature, his holiness, his glory, and everything else of him is perfect. And Adam is also the federal head of all mankind. He was the first creature created by God, and he is the federal head and represents humanity as a whole.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But Chris, can I ask something really quick?
Go ahead.
That's okay, Anarchist?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, I agreed with that, but you personally, since you would say that God certainly wills to create all of mankind and whatnot, and I would agree with that, being a Christian, but you would distinguish between God's permissive will and his moral will in these circumstances, right?
The Bible clearly. The Bible is clear and concise and consistent with the truth that there is permissive, but yet what is most glorious about God is his eternal decree. Mm-hmm. God has decreed in and of himself independently. That's where we get the doctrine of aseity. The doctrine of aseity is that God is self-sufficient. He derives nothing from nothing in creation. He is life in and of himself. Nothing. He derives nothing from anything in creation at all.
That's too bad. When I'm being creative, I get a bit of a buzz.
Yeah,
It's a different kind of buzz, you know. Like, I mean, you might like smoke a cigarette or do some sort of drugs and get a buzz that way, or get a buzz from interacting with you know, somebody that you're interested in. But being creative is a little bit different.
yeah. And well, when we speak of glory in this circumstances, in this circumstance, we're not saying that, you know, he doesn't experience anything, say, perfectly in the triune Godhead. We would certainly say, you know, he's filled with perfect delight in the Godhead. But typically what theists like Aquinas and Boethius and Augustine have said is that this is just a sort of natural act, and this is an act that we can see in creation, where beings with perfection naturally are inclined to share their perfection with other beings, and this wouldn't be a need in God. This would be if in reality the only benefit would be on the creature's part, given that they continue to be willed in existence by God. That isn't incompatible with creation being for God's glory, though. I would certainly say that that's why God created. That's what the Bible affirms.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All right, so we're gonna try to move on to, we have Cameron and then Sergio. So then we're gonna try to wrap up for the after party here. So Cameron, do you have a question?
Yes. I might have already asked this with regard to the Old Testament, but I will ask again. What is your favorite book in the Old and New Testament? For each one.
Right. So for the Old and the New Testament, ooh, you have picked a good one, haven't you? For Old Testament, I would probably have to say Jonah, because it's a simple story, but at the same time, it really makes an interesting point. And it was actually my second sermon was preached on this book of the Bible, and my sermon was about the concept of, you know, if we shouldn't be afraid of certain people. God forgives even the most wicked of people when they turn to him. And that is what I like, is when even when the people that Jonah was told to preach to, but Jonah in his arrogance is like, no, they're very bad people, I can't go to them. God pursues him to go. Then Jonah tries to stubbornly try to, make it vague, but yet Nineveh still repents. And I've had some people after the sermon come to me and say that, they thought I was stepping on their toes, but they realized that was the scriptures. It was God stepping on their toes, because they realized they can't just be prejudiced towards certain people. If they want to preach the gospel to all of creation like we're commanded to, we have to go and be nice and to be, be willing to talk to all kinds of people. We can't just live in this bubble type of thing. And I think that did some good with the sermon, especially, when we're going in the South, because I don't think anyone legitimately thought themselves that, but you never know. Some people may go through those things. So that's Old Testament is the book of Jonah. And my favorite New Testament is the book of Romans, because it's rich with some good theology, and the fact that this is actually a unique gospel presentation. Some people just print out the book of Romans, or the Romans Road, or the Romans Map to Salvation. There's a lot of good passages that come from this book of this letter of the Bible, and I just really like it. I think it's rich with some good theology, and it is an incredible book. So those are my two.
Yeah, those are good choices. Yeah, Jonah was actually one that I personally have read a lot about lately because Maimonides, who's a Jewish theologian, not endorsing him by the way, but he's interesting in a lot of regards. He used Jonah as an example of the test of a prophet, that you can't test a prophet by if they say something bad that comes to pass. Well, if they predict something bad, because God ultimately could have shown his mercy on them in any given second, and he used Jonah as the example to state why it's not a good test of a prophet. Bad predictions aren't a good test of the prophet because God's mercy is infinite. So whether that's convincing or not is a different story. But yeah, that was good. That was a good choice. I feel like I'm talking too much here. It's your show. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool, man. All right, so then we have Sergio. Sergio, how you doing, my man?
Hey,
Hey.
joining you guys. I'm surprised you haven't banned me yet.
Oh, don't worry. We were working on it, but then I realized you're probably the only one on here who has a nice mustache for the profile picture. So
Yeah, I embraced my Hispanic heritage fully.
CC.
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't gonna ask a question. I was just gonna add a comment to the whole about why are we condemned for what Adam and Eve did, if you don't mind.
Well, I did kind of answer that one, or did you want more
No,
elaboration?
I wanted to footnote an observation I've made. And you can take it or leave it.
Go ahead.
Which is that I think as well, I'm just assuming we're at the very least we're all Westerners, and we assume the individual is the building block. But if you look at the Bible, God is continually calling a people, and so in Adam, humanity was already called by God. In Abraham, you already had Israel, and that was just held as common in those cultures. And I mean, if you read Hebrews, Abraham gives the tribute to Melchizedek, and well, if Levi gave tribute to this priest that wasn't in the line, well, why can't Jesus be the priest? He's the fulfillment of the Melchizedekian figure. And so I think when we read Genesis, we have to put on these ancient Near Eastern glasses and get out of our American heads, or Western, which is hard for all of us, of course, because we're always in our own heads. So that's all I wanted to say. If you think it's wrong, that's fine. That's how I look at that issue.
Right. Well, thanks for making that comment and observation.
Western or Eastern or Southern?
I'm a Southerner, so yeehaw.
I was going to mention that the Southerners are a bit what's the word, stubborn.
Well, it depends on the ones you meet. That's actually a fun topic because I'm a Southern Baptist, and especially in the South, we kind of hold to our roots on that. And there are Southern Baptists like Matt Chandler, Russell Moore, and others, and we actually find out that it's kind of more challenging actually to preach the gospel down here in the South than it is in the North or the East or the West Coast. And the reason why is because you have like the evangelical support that was for Trump. Some of these people that supported him were people that in the Southern Baptist theology or in any Orthodox credentials is heretical because they teach usually prosperity gospel, and they don't want to rebuke Trump for some of the blasphemous things he said, such as he thinks that he can go to heaven if he just gets elected president. So none of them try to rebuke him on those things, and they don't try to catch him on some of the things he said.
Well, it's because he's a Republican, right? Like, I mean,
right, but not just that. Not just that, but that they're also the prosperity people. They want to make sure that the money comes in. We don't care as Southern Baptists whether we receive the money or not. Ours either comes from donations from people, and if we fail on that, then we fail in the financial business. But we'll still do our best to keep our own ministries alive. But at the same time, with that type of mentality, that thought is quite prevalent in the South. So if someone says, "Well, I do this. I'm a Christian. I go to church, and I listen to my pastor," but they start living in a certain way and they start holding to certain doctrinal ideas, and you, as a Orthodox Southern Baptist Christian, try to, rebuke that false notion. They then start to cringe, and they go back into the hiding spot, and then they try to just, as the Bible says, they go to where their itching ears desire to go. And you get a lot of hostility too. Like as soon as you try questioning that, then all of a sudden, now they turn the witch hunt to you, as if they think now you're the heretic, or that you're this non-Christian or something because you're questioning someone else's salvation, or that you're testing them. Well, we're told to test people. So, and it's why people like Matt Chandler has made a video about this on the Gospel Coalition, that it is hard to preach in the South, because from experience, there are some people that have an interesting idea, and some people who are willing to even say that Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses are Christians. But to me, it's just that I think they're just still babes in Christ. They're still they haven't fully had enough spiritual growth, and they're still a bit immature spiritually. And that's why we need to, help them, edify them, build them up, iron sharpen iron kind of mentality. So it's not that we need to, and that's why some tracks I actually have aren't just gospel tracks. They're meant to be handed to Christians, but they're kind of like wake-up calls and reminders, like sharpening up on certain passages that helps edify and makes the Christian think. So that's the kind of thing that I want. It's not to say, hey, you're not doing it right. It's just here's some nice biblical wisdom, and it gives them food for thought, gets them to start thinking on how they want to engage in ministry and how they want to conduct their Christian walk. So I'm not trying to condemn them or say that they're wrong. It's just that because I don't know them. I'm just an average Joe. I'm walking up to you in the street. I don't know a thing about you. But if you are a Christian and you've told me that, then I hand you a good track that helps you a bit. And, you like the passages and the verses, and those might be able to help you out when you ponder upon the message that the track lays out. So that's the one thing that I like about it.
Actually, now I do have a question for you.
All right. Now. All right, go ahead.
All right. As a Presbyterian, I need to know, what do you think of the celebrity culture that seems to inundate SBC circles? Like, how does that make you feel?
The celebrity culture?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Russell Moore, Matt Chandler, all these the big pastors are Southern Baptist. You have Tim Keller, but whatever, he's retiring now, and who cares?
No, what? So you're talking about Tim Keller's Presbyterian, right?
Yeah, he is. But I'm asking, a lot of SBC churches are prosperity churches.
Right, and that's why we're sort of scared about that as well. Is that what's his name? Stephen Furtick or something like that. Because he's Southern Baptist, but we definitely deny that he's in sound theology when he says that God decided to violate the law, a law that he established. So, but there's Presbyterians that are also in the celebrity status. Look at R.C. Sproul. You have Paul
Of
Flynn,
course.
for example, who is in it, like the James White of Presbyterianism.
I can't, I thought I was good at this Presbyterian thing, but I haven't heard of Paul Flynn. But what I mean is, no, it's true. We do have our celebrities, and it's
Right.
an thing. But I suppose what I wanted to hear from you is, like in the PCA, and ideally we have the Westminster Confession, and if you've ever read the Westminster Confession, it's very strict. How does it now? And you're a 1689er, so how does it feel being a 1689er in a BF 2000 world?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I don't necessarily hold exclusively to that, because I mean, I hold to the Baptist Faith and Message, which is 2000 adopted. But from what I also know, its roots and what they kind of based their thing off of was also the 1689 confession as well. So I just hold it as a history thing. But as far as like actual statements go, if I had to choose one over the other, I choose Baptist Faith and Message.
So you don't feel like, oh my gosh, my convention's being overrun by these pastors? Is that even that's discussed in the day-to-day life of your church?
No, I mean, we just focus on our own problems and our own spiritual issues. We don't like go like Stephen Anderson and rant about other people. We focus on what the Bible says. We preach a sermon on there, and then we apply it to our lives with the sermon that is then produced. We try to focus on, what's going on in our lives and what the scriptures have to say about it.
So you're no pulpit and pen for you anytime soon?
The what?
Pulpit and pen.
The Pulpit and Pen?
It's a polemical blog run by Southern Baptists. They're pretty mad at Russell Moore and the cooperative program.
Well, I've heard of them, but I've never actually read their stuff.
It's amusing. I know. I just because I came out of a Southern Baptist megachurch with the laser lights and stuff. So, and I didn't grow up in the South. I'm from Miami, Florida. So, transplanted in the Midwest. So the way it's definitely a foreign culture to hear you talk.
Right.
Well, so Florida is in the South.
Yeah.
Sure, geographically.
Last I checked, anyway, unless it floated somewhere upstream.
It floated into Canada.
Right.
But South Florida would be if Dixie rose again. South Florida would be the equivalent of Puerto Rico. Because it's not nice. The economy is not very good. There's lots of corruption.
Right. Don't let Donald Trump hear any of that, though.
Oh, no. Basically, we're kicking all the immigrants out because we're trying to keep federal funding. I'm sorry.
I thought you were Mexican.
No, I'm Cuban.
Oh,
I was born in Cuba. Or rather, I was born in Miami. I'm a citizen legally, and I live in the Midwest.
Right. Got it.
So yeah, it's South Florida. You want to talk about preaching? It's hard to plant a church in South Florida because all the churches down there are Pentecostal prosperity churches or Roman Catholic
prosperity.
Pentecostal
prosperity. I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they're holy rollers asking for money.
Yeah.
Or they're Roman Catholics, and nobody wants to be Roman Catholic these days unless they're like our age and they want the monarchy to come back. So.
All right. Well, is that all you want to ask for your question, or?
Oh yeah, I'm done rambling. I'll mute myself.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and end this. So I'm gonna leave the link for the live chat to join. I don't know how many people will be able to join though. That's my only thing, because I don't know what the heck is Google doing tonight, but it's freaking me out. So hopefully they'll have their stuff fixed tomorrow, so that these glitches can stop. But if you can't get in, I don't know what to tell you. But it's in the live chat. You want to join? Click that, and you can come in. But till then, thank you all for attending, and we're gonna go to the after party to chill and party. But hey, until then, this has been the Christian Anarchist. Shalom Aleichem. May peace be upon you, because I wish that upon you. Have a great night.